Alright guys, as you can tell by the title, I took a big course of action, as you can see. What I want to do in this video for you guys is basically talk about my start on social media, on the website, and what made me make this decision that you're seeing in the title right now. Now, so many of you don't know this, I actually took this course of action 2 months ago. The reason why I waited this long amount of time to make this video is because I thought if I did this video the day of, I'm going to get plenty of people saying like, oh, this is temporary, you'll be back, things like that. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit of time just to show people that I'm really happy with this decision that I made here. So this might be a little bit of a long video. I mean, you already know, you see the timestamp. So I'll basically talk about how I got started on there and kind of what kind of actions that I took along the way. Now, I'm not going to cover every single detail. There'll be like a 2-hour video, and I know you don't want to watch that. So I'll talk about how I went through the website and kind of like how things were at the time, okay? So to begin, it's roughly September of 2006. I'm 18 years old, and I'm starting my first year of college. Now, within that month, my brother was kind of telling me about this site called Facebook, and I was like, well, what's it about? And he basically told me what it was about. Now, social media did kind of already exist by this time. There was the long-running AOL Instant Messenger, and there was websites like MySpace, which I never joined MySpace because I didn't care about it, honestly. And, I kind of remembered things like that, and I kind of told my brother, I was like, I don't know, I mean, is this as good as it sounds? Like, you know what I'm saying? Is it really worth it? And he's like, no, trust me. It's really cool. You'll have a good time. Now, the website was much different back then, and I'll tell you what happened. So it was September 30th of 2006 when I set up my Facebook profile. Now, what's interesting is, some of you may remember, that's also the same day that I registered on YouTube. Excuse me. So I kind of did those two things together, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. So I joined on there, and at the time, Facebook obviously was much different. In order to register on that website, you had to have a valid school email address. I don't know if it was only college or maybe it could go down to high school, but it had to be that. But I know for a fact below high school, if it did allow that level, you couldn't go below that. So it was limited to a very specific age group. So I register on there, and at the time, it's a very simple website. You have a spot for profile pictures. You can share pictures. And basically, the only things you really did on there was, there was friend requests, and there was also, you could post on walls and make status updates, if I didn't say that already. That was the entire site. There was literally nothing more than that. And it was a very simple website, easy to use. I could communicate to, my brother, things like that. And then I started getting friend requests from immediate college friends. And throughout the time, I started to get friend requests from high school friends, and then even people from middle school and even a little bit from elementary school. I'm just like wow, I haven't seen these people in at the time over 6+ years. So kind of reconnecting with some of them on that website, I was like, this is awesome. It's really cool to have something like something like this now. It was a pretty cool thing to have. So at the time in 2006 up until maybe a couple of years later, that's all that Facebook was. You can make status updates, share pictures, talk on walls. That was it. That was the entire website. Nothing more. So then, I think it was around 2007 or 2008 where Twitter had started. Now, some people had mentioned about, maybe I should get a Twitter account, but I was like, nah, I'm happy with where I am. Having just this Facebook account is all I need. I really don't need anything more than that. I'm very happy with that. And I'm glad I stayed that way down the road, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So, for a couple of years, I'm on there steadily, making status updates, maybe some funny status updates, talking with friends, things like that, getting some more friend requests. It was a very simple website. Then, I think it was around 2009 or 2010, the website kind of started expanding a little bit. There were Facebook pages that you could have, that you could, before the whole thing was about liking, it was become a fan. Do you remember that? You could become a fan of pages you liked, and then you could also, I think, because the smartphone had been out for 2 to 3 years by that time, and there was some gaming applications on Facebook. I know one of them I joined later on was The Price is Right, which I don't think is on there anymore, and then Family Feud and Pyramid. Those are the ones that I joined. So around that time, I would say Facebook was roughly at its peak, I would say, by 2010. That's just my opinion. You may think differently. So that's all good, this and that. I make status updates about, how many finals I had left to take, when I was going home for break, things like that. And one of the things I noticed in the later years was, I think people were getting a little too comfortable with what they were posting, meaning they were obviously posting things they shouldn't have, all right? Like, I had some friends who were posting pictures of them being wasted, totally drunk, or, they would basically make a status update every single time they were going somewhere or they were leaving their house for an extended period of time. And I was like, that's a really unsafe thing to do, because anyone could probably take a look at that and know that your house is vacant. I mean, the way some of these people typed up their status updates, they may as well just said, hey, guess what? My house is empty for the next week. Feel free to rob it. Here's my key and the code to my alarm system. I mean, that's basically what it was coming across as. And I'm like, you're telling people all the wrong things. You really don't have to share information like that. Now, keep in mind, even though I had a couple of those games that I was part of, I still kept my profile very simple. I only made status updates on occasion. I never told everyone where I was going, okay? And, I was never I never became part of the whole Farmville craze. Remember that whole thing? I don't even know if that's still around nowadays, but not like I care. And, people were getting a little too comfortable and, dare I say, excessive with what they were posting. They weren't posting any, mature material or anything like that, but they were really, again, posting things they shouldn't have. Now, I'm going to say maybe around 2012 or so, that's when I think the website was really kind of starting to take kind of a downturn, okay? And I think one of the problems with that was they could have been around for longer than this, but this is when I first started seeing these things. And that was on the Facebook pages, they were starting to get political pages. Now, we all know what happens when people talk politics, which is why that I don't, okay? And I was starting to see some things people were saying that I really just didn't like. And give me a second here. Get some water. Okay. And, some of the words that they were saying to other people, this is back before 2016. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Some of the words they were saying to people, even if it wasn't directly to me, I'm like, you're 24, 25 years old. Because they're the same age group as me at the time. So I'm like, that's not the right stuff to say to someone. And, that's the thing. I keep people to the same standard in person as I do on the internet, okay? If someone's really nice in person, but they're a jerk on the internet, I don't care. If you're going to act that way on the internet, I don't want to know you in person. I'm not going to deal with someone like that, okay? And that's kind of when I started noticing, the tide was turning a little bit in 2012. And it was usually family members, high school friends, and college friends. They were starting to, say things, and I'm just like, what? You were not like this when I first met you a few years ago, and when I just saw you about 2 years ago, or a year ago even. I'm like, you're really changing in some way. So, but those types of things I just kept to myself. What I just told you, I never told them. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna hold back contact here for a little bit, okay? And then around 2014 to 2015, I started going on an unfriending spree, okay? And it wasn't just for those reasons that I had mentioned. It was part of that, but it's like they were making, several ridiculous political statements a day, or rants, whatever. They were always putting themselves down, or they were spamming pictures. Now, I'll explain what I mean by spamming pictures right here, okay? Now, obviously, some people on Facebook, they have a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband or wife, and that's fine. Like, if you have a big event, such as a wedding, okay, that's perfectly fine. Share that. Hey, it's a big event. You just got married. Okay, that's fine. Things like that. Or maybe you had your first child. Okay? But when you're posting pictures of yourself and your significant other like 6 times a day, there is no reason for that. That is just ridiculous. It gets to a point where I'm sure, I don't speak for myself here, a lot of people are probably like, yes, we get it. You're a couple. You're happy together. Okay? Just live your life already. It's ridiculous. And another thing was kind of happening around this point was that a lot of people who were my age at the time, a lot of the girls/women were becoming mothers, which was totally fine. But it's like some of them are posting stuff about like how their kid didn't make it to the bathroom in time. Now I'm giving you the clean version. They go into detail with these status updates, and I'm just like, no one wants to read about that crap. Literally. You know what I'm saying? It's like no one wants to read about that. I can't believe you're constantly posting about how your kid either vomited or he didn't make it to the bathroom in time. I'm like, who wants to read about that? Maybe in the time it's taking you to type up this status, you should take care of your kid. Gee, amazing concept, isn't it? So then, here's the thing. Like I was saying before, it was between that, political rants, or constant political rants, I should say, constantly putting themselves down and spamming all these pictures. I went on an unfriending spree in 2014 to 2015. And one of the reasons, too, I did that is because I left one thing out. Any contact I tried to keep with some of the people that I was friends with in college, I never got anything back. So I was like, all right, you know what? You're not going to talk to me. You're not worth keeping on my friends list anymore. So at the peak, my friends list was, I think, 324 people. After I went on my unfriending spree, which wasn't only one day, it was throughout that year, I went down to about probably 217. I'm still amazed I had that many on there, but the number kept going down somewhat as the years went on. Hold on. Okay. So that's when I kind of started realizing, maybe being on this website just isn't worth it to me anymore. Maybe I should do something else. But what kind of kept me on there was the fact that I still had some people that I talked with, and I had become friends with in 2014 especially. So when those friendships happened, that kind of kept me on just a little bit more. Now, let's go to 2016. As we all know, we had an election in 2016. Now, full disclosure here, you guys know I don't like talking about politics in anywhere, whether it be on my videos or in person, unless there's someone I can trust wholeheartedly, which is like one person, literally. And I'm not going to give their name here. So this is where things really started to take a downturn. I think I've used that term before, but really went crazy, okay? So I'm going to try to say this in the best way possible without bringing up either side of the spectrum here, okay? And just tell you exactly what was going on. Now, when that election was happening, I knew very well what was going to happen on Facebook the next day, okay? And so, and also on Twitter, because people were I have some friends who were showing me tweets and things like that on Twitter, and I think Twitter was even worse than Facebook, but, we'll get into that in a little bit, okay? So, that day goes by, I go to bed, I wake up, I'm like, okay, there's probably going to be some arguments on Facebook when I open it up. I open up Facebook the morning I wake up after the 2016 election, and oh my God, okay, saying that there was an argument on there doesn't even come close. The best way I could put this to you is that a summer day in the state of Florida was nowhere near as hot as the flame wars that were going on in there. It was just insane. I had seen the size of people, and I wasn't taking part in this, I had just seen comments on my newsfeed. I saw the size of people that I have never seen before, and I am just like, wow, I really need to reconsider who I want to keep on my friends list here and who I should just be done with and things like that. Here's the thing about me. This is my stance on friendships, okay? I don't care if you've been friends with me for 25 years, okay? If at any point you do something horrible to me, whether you insult me for no reason or whatever, I will not hesitate for a second to be done with you in an instant. I am dead serious, because I was 28 years old at the time, and at that age, you really shouldn't have to put up with stuff like that. Okay, like no matter how long I knew you for, if you're going to insult me in any way or whatever, I'm like, okay, see ya. I don't need you. Because I had much better things to do with my time than deal with someone who's going to be very immature. Okay? So after I read through Facebook, I read through Facebook, okay, big news. My goals for that day, the day after the election, was, okay, I have to get the cabana ready for winterization, take care of a couple things at home, and then go to work. And then in the evening, I had my bowling league. And mind you, in the bowling league, no one said a single word about political stuff, at least around where I was bowling. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think it's because these people know talking about that stuff doesn't make a good time. It never does, okay? I'm going to say that as a fact. It never does make a good time. So then, when I saw what was going on with Facebook in that year, I was like, I have to reconsider what I'm doing here and just some of these people that I'm still in contact with. As a matter of fact, I think it was that year that both my brother and my sister-in-law had actually deleted their accounts because they were experiencing the same thing I was, more directly to them. They were being insulted with disagreements, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Just remove those people from your life. You don't need them. And some family members who are a good 20 plus years older than me, they were acting like they were 13. I'm serious. Some of the stuff they were saying was just ridiculous. So I was like, you know what? Unfriend, unfriend, unfriend. I was like, I didn't care by that point. And somehow, even after all that, I still stayed on there until July of this year. Okay? So a couple of years go by past that, and there's another thing that happens too. I had mentioned Twitter beforehand, and one of my friends had shown me a couple of tweets that was going on with Twitter. And like I said, some of the wording they were just saying was like, this is insane. I mean, Twitter was basically worse than Facebook. It probably still is. In fact, one of my friends actually, even after all that, he asked me, how come I don't have a Twitter account? And I told him straight up, I'm not interested. I don't care. And here's another good reason. I saw a lot of immature tweets on Twitter. And let me give you an example here, okay? Here's a good example. A guy who's in his 30s, mind you, okay, he whines about how the font on a restaurant menu makes him dizzy or whatever, and he whines about it where he says, I'm never going to eat here again. Now, I didn't make that up. What I just told you actually happened. A friend of mine on a messenger linked me that tweet, and I was like, this guy is pathetic. I mean, you're whining about something so trivial. Okay, and again, he's in his 30s, same age range as I am, and I'm like, he's whining about something like that? I'm like, okay, just close the menu and leave. Who cares about what you think? I'm just like, I was like, I don't want to be on a website where people are like that. So then, more and more of the same stuff goes on until July of this year, and then finally, July of this year, I was like, in the middle of the month roughly, I was like, you know what? It's time. This website just serves no purpose for me whatsoever. Go to the things, delete account, this and that. I clicked that button, and that was one of the best decisions I ever made. It's like, as cliche as this saying is, a huge amount of weight was lifted off my shoulders. I mean, like I said, and I deleted the Messenger app from my phone, got rid of that. I was like, yeah, social media just doesn't really serve, like on those kinds of websites, doesn't serve its purpose that much anymore. To be completely honest with you, I think the time that Facebook had officially, as ironic as it is for me to say this, jumped the shark was in 2012. I think that's pretty much when, by that point, it had just outlived its purpose. There really was no point to it anymore. Like, I kind of wish I had gotten rid of my account a couple years before I did, but, better late than never. It's done. Life goes on. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's just like, I'm 30 years old now, so it's like, I'm like, I don't have time for trivial stuff like that. People whining about this and that. I'm like, you know what? It's time to move on, do something else with your life. And I am. like, I guess maybe YouTube is considered social media nowadays. I don't know, but this is pretty much the only thing that I have. And, it's great because, status updates, you kind of read, but in order to know what's in a video, you have to click on it first. So that's basically how things are more hidden, I guess you could say. But seriously, getting off that website was one of the best decisions I ever made. There are things that I just didn't want to deal with anymore, people I didn't want to deal with anymore. And finally it just came to me, that day. I was like, just get off the website. And I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. So 2 months ago I did that, and to this day I have zero regrets of doing that. I feel fantastic to be off that website. It really didn't serve any purpose for me whatsoever. I think just one of my friends had asked if I got rid of my account, and I said yes, it was time. I couldn't stand it anymore. So one person out of 200 wondering about that, I'm like, I guess I made the right decision. And I feel so much more free now, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to Jay here. Jay, like you said, Facebook really didn't serve much of a purpose. To be fair, I think it did for a little while, but after about maybe 6 or so years, that's when it officially reached the end of its purpose. Maybe it could have been sooner. I'm sure you think that, which is fine, but I think that's when it officially was just like, it's not worth it anymore. And it's really one of the best decisions I ever made because, like I said, it just, it gets to when you get to a certain age and you just see some of the comments people are leaving, like I said, like they're 13 or 14, that's when I'm like, you know what? Just don't even bother confronting them. Just get off the website. It's not worth it anymore. And I made a decision, and I feel great. So there you have it, guys. Used to be a big part of social media for me, but now it's not anymore, and I feel fantastic. Some of you who watch my videos who are younger than me, trust me, get off of Facebook, you'll feel much better. Like, you won't miss it one bit, okay? So there's my social media story. I'm off of Facebook now, I feel fantastic, and no regrets whatsoever. So as usual, thank you very much for watching, and take care.